I'm Victor Lund. Before we get started here, raise your hand if you've been here the last couple of years and you've heard me speak before. Nobody? One? A couple people? Okay. So I'm very grateful for the opportunity to come to Paris each year and tell you a little bit about the things that are happening in American real estate. One of my objectives when I come here is to bring a guest, somebody who is really following a lot of the things that I talk about in terms of trends that are really changing the way people buy and sell homes in America. It's a very big market. Last year when I was here, I talked about consolidation being very important, meaning lots of companies are merging. So this year I brought one of the experts in merging real estate brokerages in America to come and speak, and they've created the third largest real estate brokerage in America within a period of just a small number of years. The other thing that I want to talk about, and you'll hear a little bit about this in our conversation today, is something called iBuyer. Have you heard of iBuyer? Okay. So for those of you who have not heard of iBuyer, it's just like anyone else purchasing a home, only it's a company that buys a home. And one of the major changes that's happening in America is that there's a startup that is buying homes in America and then fixing them up and reselling them. They buy them for below market and then sell them for the market price. The other thing is that there's a portal like Salon who is also buying homes. So they're changing a little bit of the way they do business. It's Zillow Group. So rather than just receiving money from you to market a home for sale, like advertising, they're actually purchasing the home. So they're changing things up a little bit to try and earn more money. So with that, I'd like to invite my friend Mark McLaughlin, and we'll go through today's presentation. So Mark, welcome.
Good evening, Paris. How are you? Thanks for having us. We came a long way. Victor and the associates, is that not working?
It's not very loud.
Whoop, is that better? Way better, okay. So thank you, Victor, and thank you everybody at Rent for including us. I've been asked to share a little bit of perspective about Pacific Union, the company that I bought in 2009, and how we built it, and then were acquired by Compass. And I'll follow that up, or Victor and I will follow that up together with a lens into what's going on in the United States and how the market is changing, and the velocity of change is pretty ferocious. But I think we'll get it done in the time allotted. So back in 2009, which is the orange bar there you can see behind me, we bought a company by the name of Pacific Union. It had about 17 offices and about 400 people. It was doing a little over $2 billion in sales, so the average sales price was in the neighborhood of $950,000 US. Over the course of the next 10 years, we built it to be the 5th largest company in the country, and we did about 10,000 sales a year, average sales price about $1.4 million for about $14 billion in sales. So needless to say, it was quite a journey. It was not without risk, but we had a lot of fun doing it, and Victor was one of my closest advisors and counselors throughout the entire thing. The way that we did it is we built Northern California, really recruiting one real estate professional at a time, one agent at a time. We started with 400, we're now probably around the 700, 750 range. And in Southern California, where we did not have a presence, and predominantly in Los Angeles County, we bought 3 different companies that each were doing about $2 billion, or about 2,000 transactions apiece. Along with that came escrow companies, and escrow companies in the United States, most of the United States, settle the transaction between the buyer and the seller. So each one of those had an escrow company that came with it. So ultimately, we had a business where we bought 7 different companies and merged them together as Pacific Union. Just about the time that we were finished doing all of that, and the Southern California acquisitions took about 2.5 years from beginning to end, a company by the name of Compass in New York City. I'm sure most of you have heard of Compass because they have been on an incredible growth trajectory. As we finished 2017, you can see Pacific Union was the 5th largest company in the country. Compass was the 6th, and another company in Northern California, Alon Panel, was the 7th. And Compass bought both Pacific Union and Alain Panel. Pacific Union in late 2018 and and Alain Panel in March of 2019. So the company's been on an incredible growth trajectory in 20 markets in the United States, and will probably close out the year in the neighborhood of $80 billion in transactions. So it's been quite a ride. Whoops, wrong way. So now let's shift to sort of the lens of the industry, and I like to call this perspective, who's chasing whom? Because in our world 10 years ago, the real estate broker, the real estate professional, was the furthest most upstream in a transaction, always knowing that the transaction was going to happen before anybody else, right? And so everything surrounding us, mortgage, title, escrow, property insurance, was always something that we could kind of direct and move around. It was just sort of a nice position to be in. Well, this landscape is changing. And first of all, I'll give you an order of magnitude of the size. It's about a $3 trillion a year industry in the United States. And in 2018, there was $17 billion worth of mergers and acquisitions. And they're effectively in 3 different categories. They're in the real estate or commission-oriented business, the mortgage origination and refinance business, and then title insurance and homeowners insurance are sort of the 3 main categories. In the brokerage business, which is obviously my background, Compass is one of the companies that's been doing a tremendous amount of acquisition. And as Victor just shared with you, the other category is what's called iBuyers. And before we go on, Victor's going to share with you a little bit more on what an iBuyer is, because it's a force in the United States that's got great velocity behind it.
Yeah, so the purpose behind iBuyer is to examine what's really trying to change the consumer behavior. So there's a lot of research in America about how people feel when they move. 89% of consumers are very nervous about moving. So when you're going to let your home for sale, you're very stressed out about it. And one of the things that iBuyers delivers is an immediate purchase. So you don't market your home. They come in, they look at the property, they make you an offer. And that's it. So there's no marketing, there's no selling. There may or may not be a realtor involved. They just buy your company for cash. And so that is really the miracle that's changed things. What's unique about that is the amount of the market that it occupies today is very small. So it's less than 5% of all transactions go through an iBuyer, where the iBuyer is purchasing the home. 95% of consumers still do it the traditional way. However, the thing that's terrifying is that 80% of consumers say that they would talk to an iBuyer before they talk to a real estate agent or broker. And that's really the terrifying reality that iBuyers has brought to the real estate industry, that's forced businesses like Mark's to rethink and to innovate around different solutions for the consumer.
Yeah, absolutely. As a matter of perspective, the dollars invested in M&A, this is 2018 numbers, the dollars invested in M&A in 2015 was $2 billion. So the industry's getting a lot of attention. This is what the competitive landscape looks like now in the United States. Basically, we've taken the real estate landscape and broken it down into 7 different sectors. And this was actually done by a great pal of mine who's in the investment banking industry. Everybody's taking pictures now. But you can notice, residential, commercial real estate, are we involved in that? Sure, we use data and analytics, definitely mortgage, title and closing services. You might say that the last 2 on the far right are really the only ones that the real estate industry is not involved in. Facilities management for sure in residential real estate, but travel and hospitality is coming closer and closer to our industry than ever before. Just think about Airbnb and how many of your clients do business with Airbnb either as a property renter or as a tenant. And think of all the financial information that Airbnb has about your client. So they're getting, every one of these companies is trying to get really, really close to our client. I'm going to come back to this in just a minute. As a matter of perspective, there are about 5 million homes sold in the United States each year. This year, I think that number is going to be in the 5.3 million range. And I think at the bottom, back in 2007, 2008, that might have fallen to about 4.4. But use the 5 million. There are 2 million licensed real estate professionals in the United States. Okay, 2 million. That's a lot. That means each person gets 2.5 transactions in a year. How many of you could survive on 2.5 transactions in a year? So effectively, we have 1 million excess realtors who are also putting pressure on our fees by being willing to do transactions for a smaller fee than what might be negotiated in the marketplace. So something that happened in 2018 is 53% of the brokerage companies in the United States in 2018 had a worse year than the year before. That means the good are going to get great and the average are going to fade away. So our industry is continuing to go through the consolidation that Victor talked about a few minutes ago. The really special thing about the business that we're in is while all those companies are chasing our clients, what is really the best thing about our relationship with our client is trust. That's the one thing that I think is going to prevent the complete displacement. It's not going, we're not selling airline seats or eyeglasses on Amazon. Somebody really needs to trust you to do business with you, and that's a phenomenon that's very, very important to keep in mind through this.
Yeah, I think something that I would add there is, even as I go through the convention today, I see that there are many companies that are talking about online marketing, how to find a buyer, those types of things, how to generate a lead for your business. America is beyond all of that. The amount of those businesses in the United States are very limited, because there's so many more buyers for property today than there are sellers. If you have a listing, the likelihood of you selling it to somebody that you know or somebody that another agent in your office knows is extremely high in America today. We've really gone closer toward supporting the development of customer relationship management within a business. So I don't have to go back to find a customer I already know. I stay in touch with the customer that I already have.
One other thing I'll point out about this slide is that if you look at the commercial real estate column right over my left shoulder, there's JLL and CBRE there. Well, in most places except for North America, around the world, those brokerage companies also sell residential property. For some reason they don't in the United States, but it's just another threat that we're waiting for. So let's take a closer look at a few of these competitors, because all of the companies on this slide are extremely well capitalized. If not through earnings of their company, and many of them are public, then through venture capital, which is giving them ability to grow with great strength. So let's take a look at a few of these companies, particularly Zillow, a company by the name of Home Depot, which is a lender, as well as Quicken Mortgage, which is a lender, Fidelity as a title company, and Airbnb. We'll start with the Zillow Group, which is one of our portals. They own a company, and what I'm going to be referencing here is real estate professionals tend to think that they have a client list, and they have a phone number, and they have an email address, so therefore they own the client. But what I'm going to share with you is just about every one of these companies has way more information about our clients than we do, like all kinds of information about our client. So Zillow owns a company by the name of .loop. That's in the transaction management business. So if you're running your transaction through .loop, Zillow has access to 100% of that data. They are now a lender. They also provide services through Porchlight, which is like handyman, roofers. What do you want to do to your house? We can help you fix it up anyway. Kind of like Home Advisor from the United States. And they've got an $8 billion market cap. So this is quite a force to be reckoned with. And as Victor indicated, they also have this iBuyer experience. Fidelity National Financial, another $9 billion company that I think puts off about $1.2 billion in free cash every year, owns all of these title companies. And the box that's empty down there, or actually, yeah, the box that's empty on the lower right, was going to be for Stewart Title. If they had bought Stewart Title, they would have owned 53% of the title insurance business in the United States. Formidable. But they're a very agent or broker-friendly organization. They own SkySlope, which is a competitor to .loop. They own Commissions, Inc., and they own Real Geeks, which are different forms of CRMs, which everybody in the United States is now starting to use. Very broker-friendly company, but a massive company in our space. Here's where it starts to get interesting. How many of you have heard of Quicken Loans, Rocket Mortgage? Nobody. Okay.
QuickBooks?
QuickBooks?
Financial accounting software. It's very popular for consumers and for businesses. It's how you keep track of who you're paying and your bills and things like that.
It's an institution to do the accounting in your home, and some small businesses. They started Rocket Mortgage about 2 years ago, having run Intuit Mortgage for about 5. And you call them up on the phone, I need a mortgage for $500,000. You get pre-approved. Are you working with a real estate professional? And if the answer is no, they will refer you to a real estate professional, and they will take 35% of the closing fee. Okay, so where we were the furthest upstream as the real estate professional, referring business to lenders, it's now starting to come the other way. This Loan Depot is another mortgage broker in Southern California. They are very strong in the United States, and they hired the former president of Keller Williams by the name of Chris Heller. All right, they didn't hire Chris to build a mortgage company. They hired him to build a real estate company. Now, he's subsequently moved on and gone somewhere else, but you get the general drift. The lenders who have so much information about us, they know I have 3 kids in college, they know when the tuition's due, they know I own a boat, maybe there's a mortgage on it or a loan on it, maybe there's not. They know everything about me, and they're chasing our clients as well. Airbnb. This is an announcement that was made in March. Airbnb will start designing homes in 2019. Designing homes. There's 2 quotes on here. One, and the home is to put a unit in your backyard to create inventory for Airbnb. It's like a modular unit. Think of backyard as both a producer and a marketplace for selling major aspects of the home in any shape it might come in. It could be the whole home.
Yeah, I think this is really interesting. So obviously when you get outside of Paris, people's properties have extra room on them, extra land, and they're developing a home that you can just bring in with a truck and set it down, and then you can make it an Airbnb inventory or add an extra home for a parent or something like that. So they're adding more inventory than exists in the marketplace for the benefit of powering growth in their own company.
So at the top of this slide, it says, not just the company that provides the housing, the company that provides the houses. So like they're getting in the housing business. An order of magnitude, how big is Airbnb? At the lower, the numbers are a little off-centered here, but at the lower part of the slide, Marriott, the brand, not Marriott, the conglomerate, in 2018 had about 1.1 million hotel rooms around the world. That's the inventory they had to sell every night. Hilton, 900,000. Airbnb, 4.8 million. They are seriously in the property rental business. Opendoor. This is an iBuyer, as Richard was just talking about. And this is a quote from Eric Wu, who's the CEO and one of the founders. The lower sentence, it says, it's going to take a bit of time for agents to realize that actually the automation will happen. And their role is to be an advisor to the consumer. Well, we love being an advisor to the consumer, right? But here's the second part of the quote, which is on the top. I should fix that. Their home is where everyone uses Opendoor to buy and sell their homes in a frictionless transaction that is eventually low cost or free. Okay, and that's what Opendoor is working to. Well, when he talks about a frictionless transaction that's free, he means there's no commission to us, to all of us, right? And if you think about Opendoor, they're buying homes at between 9 and 13% off of fair market value. Well, I think if I could bring you the flat or the home next to every one of you that lives across the street or next door to you between 9 and 13% off fair market, you might buy as much as your balance sheet could afford, and you'd rent it out just like Airbnb does. So these are different threats that are happening in our business.
Mark, do you have an idea about how much capital Opendoor has to work with? I mean, they seem to be pulling in enormous amounts of capital in order to go buy this inventory, right?
I don't know that exact denomination, but their credit box or where they're buying is between the $200,000 home and the $500,000 home. So those are not in coastal United States or major CBDs, but it's in tertiary markets.
So the go-to-market strategy for iBuyers is to buy the most common house, the houses that sell with the most velocity, kind of a middle-class home, and they like to buy a lot of them, and they're buying thousands of homes every month.
Yeah. So this deal was announced in March, and it really was dead on arrival, is that Redfin started referring business to RE/MAX, gave them a national distribution channel for their leads. But they're advertising that you can get a 1.5% discount, and they're taking 25 to 30% of the fee. So the leads are coming into RE/MAX with the fee schedule sort of already established at a 25% discount. The real estate professionals at RE/MAX said, no thank you, and the deal blew up. Like literally 5 weeks, 7 weeks?
Yeah, not even. Yeah, the moment that a RE/MAX agent learned that they were going to get only 20% of their commission over a traditional customer, they just said, I don't want it.
Yeah. A couple more quotes, and then I've got one last example for you. These are articles that were printed in March, and this is really when this sort of vista of mine into the U.S. markets really took shape, was in the first quarter of 2019. The quote from Zillow in an article that was written, Zillow's not stopping. What agents can do about it. I've got a glare here. This is not your industry. The real estate industry is up for grabs to whoever offers the marketplace what it desires. Really what they're saying is, we're not going to constrain or accelerate the U.S. real estate industry. Consumers are. Consumer behavior has been changed forever by companies like Uber and Airbnb and things like that. So we can't build rules around our industry to describe or to change that or to protect us. And Opendoor, back to him again, the same quote. It's very uncomfortable, he says. He's not a very popular guy. But he said he envisions the future where everyone uses Opendoor to buy and sell their homes in the frictionless transaction that's eventually low cost or free. He wants everybody to go to Opendoor, which is an iBuyer, get an offer, and then if you don't want to take it up on the offer, he'll then refer you to a real estate professional. So many people are going to the top of that industry landscape, if you will. CNBC, which I watch every morning, one morning I was watching it in March, and these three companies were advertising on CNBC on a national basis. They traditionally worked with us as real estate professionals, and they're going right over the top of our heads, straight to the consumer. So the industry is truly, truly pretty much up for grab. So I call it the chase is on. Who's chasing who? Every single one of those companies that's very well capitalized, if you take the chase is on off the top of that slide and you type in the words your client, every single one of these companies is chasing our clients. And so we have to get better at what we do in a really, really aggressive way. And I'll give you a consumer products example. Gillette has been the category killer for shaving and razors since my great-grandfather was around, right? And for every one of you as well. Here comes along Dollar Shave Club. I don't know if we have Dollar Shave Club in Europe, but here they come where they build the exact same or better razor. They ship it to you at your home. It's probably a much lower cost. You get it at the frequency that you want it, and they hit your debit card for you. It is a frictionless transaction, right? My son wouldn't go to the grocery store or the drugstore or the pharmacy to buy razor blades to save his life. As a matter of fact, he's 26. He wouldn't go to any store to buy anything that's not hot, cold, or perishable, right? He gets it delivered by Amazon and things like that. So it's a phenomenon of what's going on, partly because of the demographics of our country and how things are changing so much, and we can't stand in the way of it. The Dollar Shave people are coming at us from every single direction. So this is how we feel. We feel we're on a bit of a roller coaster ride. It's pretty aggressive. Victor counsels all kinds of companies in our industry all the time. And you have any final thoughts on that before we move on to the Compass business model?
No, please, go ahead.
Sure? Okay. So what are we doing about it at Compass? So we look at what's going on as a bit of a flywheel, and we will use Amazon as an example. Amazon's a very, very popular, another U.S. brand, where they start by creating some inventory. It was books. Now it's nearly everything on the planet. They put together a beautiful customer interface. The UI, UX, to use Amazon, is fantastic, which creates traffic, which brings more sellers, which drives more inventory. Okay, so you could call this a flywheel or a marketplace, but dead center there is a marketplace. So the Compass flywheel, or the Compass long game, the Compass strategy, is to paint we've painted a very compelling vision that we're going to have 20% market share in 20 cities by 2020, which is, 45 days away. Build a critical mass of inventory, which we've done. We have phenomenal inventory in these 20 markets at 20% share. And then somehow create or change consumer behavior. And we're doing that in a couple of different ways that I'll share with you. And once you can change consumer behavior to come off of the portals and onto our site to search for real estate, then you can drop in all those additional services that all those companies are trying to do and that Amazon does every day. When you go on Amazon, you can buy just about anything that you want, right? It might be delivered through different people, but it's almost anything you want. So these are the 20 markets that Compass participates in today. I believe, Nashville's on there. That was the most recent city, I believe, to launch. 20% market share by 2020 is absolutely going to happen. So that's phenomenal. That's going to be there. We have a couple of products that consumers are absolutely loving. The first one is called Compass Concierge. If you have a home that its list price is going to be, let's say, $1 million, Compass will give the homeowner $30,000 in advance of taking the property to market to fix it up. No interest, no fees, no nothing, and that $30,000 is paid back at closing once the property sells. While those improvements are going on, Compass has a product by the name of Coming Soon, which is all the inventory that's basically been signed up and is sort of under remodel before it comes to market. So in a supply-constrained market like the United States, where there's more demand than supply, people are very eager to know about that coming soon inventory. And so they're showing up at the site looking for that every day. And it's open to competitive brokers as well. It's open to everybody. That creates an exceptional search experience for a consumer, which gives us the ability then to introduce adjacent services. So this is an example of what a homeowner might use their $30,000 for. Is there's supposed to be a before and an after, but it doesn't seem to be working. But a picture like that would go up on Coming Soon, no address, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, $1 million. In California, in the middle of this year, we had $3.5 billion worth of inventory of Coming Soon products. So if you're a serious homeowner in California, you are absolutely going to come to that site and begin to experience that inventory. This slide is from May, and it says $2.5 billion, but at its peak, I think in July, it was $3.5 billion of inventory. That is now original content. You're an expert on this way more than I am. That is now original content that's shared with the Google search engines, and we take out an ad for every single one of those listings to make sure that it's placed so high. This begins to change the behavior of the source of listings coming forward is Compass and not the portals. So again, changing consumer behavior to come to our site to look for inventory. It's an example of the inventory. So the marketplace, or the UI, UX in the middle there, is our effort to create a venue for consumers to do all things real estate. Everything that was under that sort of the horizon of the different services in our industry. And it starts with Coming Soon. We have a vendor marketplace where if you do want to do maintenance or additions to your home in a certain geography, you can find approved vendors from Compass to help you out with that. The adjacent services now are property insurance, escrow services, and we've just launched another program called Compass Bridge Loans, where we'll lend a consumer the money to buy their next home before they sell the home that's being fixed up with the Coming Soon dollars. That will give us the ability to recruit more top agents, to go out and get listings with Compass Concierge dollars, and the velocity of this flywheel just begins to take off.
I think I want to just point out a couple of things here. No real estate broker in America did this ever before. So you know, as an estate agent, you go into a property, maybe the kitchen floor has got cracks in the floor, or the bathroom is not very nice. You don't want to go to the bathroom in there. Obviously, as an estate agent, you don't want to show that property. You want those things improved. You know that the flat will collect a lot more money when it sells if it has those things repaired in advance. There are two things that sit between the consumer and that repair. One of them is money. Compass fixed that by paying for the repairs. Number two is resources. Clearly that property owner did not know a floor repairman, or the floor would have been fixed. Clearly they didn't know how to fix up their bathroom, or it would have been done. So I think bringing the experts to fix up the property was a really important component of the flywheel, and as well as making the payments for the seller. So we know that the buyers are going to come along, purchase the home, and you can pay for that, for the repairs after you sell the home. what they've learned and demonstrated is that they can get a far higher value for the property if they make those repairs before they market the home. They also learned with the coming soon that if they tell people in the market, not the portals like Salon, that this home is only, you can only find it on our website, that consumers started to go there to find out about these beautiful homes that were coming soon. And they became interested in, they would tell their real estate agent would say, well, why am I not working for Compass? Right. But also, it changed the flavor of the way consumers thought about real estate brokerage brands in their market, because every Compass home being sold today in Northern California, in Southern California, and in many of these other cities is being sold in perfect condition. And that changes what you expect from Compass as a consumer when you come to purchase their properties. So incredibly well done on all venues, all innovative things that have not existed.
Yeah, so and the Compass Concierge, through September 30th, I believe we have done 4,500 loans, not loans. We advance money to 4,500 consumers to fix up their homes. And on average, the average return on investment is between 2 and 3x. So if we gave them $30,000, their home sold for between $60,000 and $90,000 more than the real estate professional thought it would have without the coming soon dollars, without the Compass Concierge dollars. So it's been a phenomenal program for us, and it's actually really changed a number of our real estate professionals' careers about how they engage in a living room. One woman in particular who works in the Santa Monica market, which is in Southern California, works a town that's mainly all high-rise condominiums. I think you call them flats or apartments. High-rise condominiums. And many of those people are second and third homeowners. Excuse me, that's their second and third home. So they're not residents. So the postcard that she mails out, she spends $100,000 a year mailing postcards to people about, let me list your home. So the first time she's on the phone with someone, first of all, she doesn't know them, right? She has to distinguish herself in such an extreme way against the brother-in-law's friend that's a real estate professional in Santa Monica, and she's done it all with Compass Concierge. It's been a phenomenal offering for our people. So what's coming next? The industry is really trying to make the real estate professional redundant. The Compass Concierge product is really kind of epic. It's a game changer. The coming soon inventory is really critical to our ability to attract consumers and then change their behavior. And I don't know what it's like in here in Europe, but our people hold their client database to their vest really, really tightly. Like, I know this client's name, phone number, and email, and I'm not telling it to anybody. Well, in reality, the people that own the transaction management, the homeowners insurance people, the title insurance people, the mortgage people, have more information on our agents' clients than they will ever have, all right? So that trust is the most important and critical variable. But in time, I think our real estate professionals will come to us and ask us to build artificial intelligence to dive into their personal database to bring out, kernels of gold to help them drive their business. So that pendulum, we think, is going to swing where the CRM is going to have an artificial intelligence component to it. The Compass, we're just betting big on the real estate professional, and everybody right now seems to be betting big the exact other way. So I see AI in our future as well. These are just sort of principles of ours. The last two are, be willing to be the best every day at what you do. Like, really be willing to be the best. Don't get up and just mail it in. Get up and be the best every single day. And expect to win every single day. Because against this landscape, that's what everybody's doing. Everybody's showing up to win, and everybody's showing up to be their best. So our people, I just constantly remind them, you got to show up the exact same way.
That's it.
Yeah.
No, we're good.
No. Closing thoughts?
Yeah, I think Mark's closing thoughts were right on. A little bit last year, in addition to talking about consolidation, we talked about artificial intelligence and original and predictive analytics. They kind of mean the same thing, and I hope it translates okay. Do you guys understand what I'm talking about? Okay, good. But one of the things that Compass has done differently in artificial intelligence is they've begun to take artificial intelligence and put it on the data set of the real estate agent. So most companies went out and said, well, how can we most highly predict the likelihood of a consumer buying or selling a house? And that's really important, but when you look at the agent's data and you try to find that same predictability, you actually are working on data that has actions behind it. So that's really a change that's happened in artificial intelligence and in the United States, is that the equipment that you use the software that you use to stay in touch with your customers has gotten smarter about telling you that it's time to call Mark. He just sold his company. He might buy a place in Paris.
Right. Not really.
But it's getting better at doing that. The other thing that's really happening, and it's happening at a very thin level of the industry, like companies like Compass, companies like Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, companies like Realogy, is they're starting to use something called business intelligence and machine learning. So they're beginning to look at the way consumers engage with software and beginning to understand how software can make that engagement better. And they're using big data and big data analytics to do that, and that's only found at the very top of the market. So hopefully next year when I come back, we'll be able to show you how some of these companies have taken the enormous amount of investment that they've had and have turned it into solutions that actually make real estate agents better. So I'm really excited about that. Thank you very much for coming very far from California to Paris, and thanks for having us.
Thanks for your time.